Hey, it's AJ here for TechBytes, bringing you some bite-sized tips to improve your tech knowledge. In this video, we're going to be talking about IP addresses and MAC addresses. What are these? What do they do? And why are they so important? So, let's get started. So, many people may have heard of IP addresses, but you may not know what these are or what they're used for. For example, some people may not know that there are actually two different types of IP addresses, and also that IP addresses can serve different purposes depending on their requirements. So let's look at these in a little bit more detail. Let's start with these two address types. There are two different forms of IP address, the older IPv4 address type and the newer IPv6 address type. IPv4 is a numeric address made of four groups of up to three numbers, separated by a dot. And there are also two different forms of IPv4 address. There is a public address, which are assigned by your internet service provider to your home router. For example, this could be 62.159.32.43. And no two of these public addresses will ever be the same. And unless you've specifically requested for a static address from your internet service provider, then it also may be possible that this address may change over time. Then there is a private IP address. For example, your home or business's router IP address may be 192.168.0.1, and then your phone's IP address may be 192.168.0.193. Home or business IP addresses are usually formatted in this primary structure. 192.168 dictates the network type. In this case, parts 1 and 2, which are 192.168, dictate that it's a private network and not a public network. 192.168 is actually a globally reserved range to be used in private network environments only, meaning that no public IP addresses can start with this. There are also two other global private address reservations, which include the 10.0 to 10.255 range and the 172.16 to 172.31 range. Part 3 of this private address is actually called the subnet, and this dictates the range your devices will be on. Most home routers use a subnet of 0 or 1, however this could be 10, 23 or any other number up to 255. Businesses may have actually more than one subnet, which they can have completely separate from each other, or so that they can talk to each other. For example, a building with many businesses in, or many floors, may have different subnets for each of those businesses in the building, or even for each floor. This is because there is a maximum of 255 devices that can be connected to a subnet at any given time. And a business where each person will have a desktop, laptop, phone, network printer, and also any other network attached devices, on top of Wi-Fi access points, where each of these will have their own IP, and also phones and tablets which connect to these which will also have their own IP. They may find that this range of 255 devices will be used very, very quickly. So as to ensure that a business can maximize the devices that are connected to their network, they may split their subnets between floors, buildings, businesses, departments, or maybe even via device or connection type. For example, a business may place all of their phones on one subnet, and all of their Wi-Fi access points and wireless devices on a different subnet, and then their computers and printers on another subnet. They may have a guest subnet that's sitting completely separate from the others, or they may have some of these joined together. There is then a fourth part of this address that dictates the individual device that you're using, and this again could be any number up to 255. This could be a non-static address that could change over time, or a static address that will always be the same. In our example here, your device's address would be 49 on the subnet 11 on your private network. Of course, it's also important to point out that a device's IP address can be different depending on the network you're connected to. And it's also possible to set a static IP address if that IP address is not already in use on that network. So, at home, your IP address on your phone may be 192.168.0.103, but at work it may be 192.168.11.49, and then at your favourite coffee shop it may be 192.168.1.99. However, unlike IP addresses, your MAC address will always remain the same, so that your routers can look up your IP address. But we'll come back to MAC addresses in a little while. The main disadvantage of IPv4 is that in the grand scheme of the world, there are only a limited number of public addresses that can be used. And when I say limited, I mean approximately 4.29 billion addresses. Now, that may not seem that limited, But when we consider that every home, business, website, and more all have their own IP addresses, there's no wonder we're at a point now where we're facing a global IPv4 shortage. So, how do we overcome this? This is where IPv6 comes in. IPv6 aims to eventually replace the IPv4 addressing system by offering a much longer hexadecimal based addressing system. IPv6 will actually be capable of more than 340 undecillion addresses. Yes, undecillion is really a number. Let's take a moment to appreciate how many addresses this really is. I'm not sure about you, but I'm not even sure where to begin with saying this. So let's break it down. That's 340 undecillion, 282 decillion, 366 nonillion, 920 octillion, 938 septillion, 463 sextillion, 463 quintillion, 374 quadrillion, 607 trillion, 431 billion, 768,211,456. I'm a little bit out of breath after that, I don't know about you. What this basically means, though, is that if we wanted to, we could give every atom on the planet Earth an IP address, and we would even have enough left over to do the same on 100 other Earths. Now, you may be thinking that IPv6 must be quite new. However, it was invented in 1995 and became a draft standard for the Internet Engineering Task Force in 1998. However, it didn't become an internet standard until 2017, and as such, we're only really just starting to transition to IPv6 around the world. And there is a lot more to be done on this by technology companies and internet service providers. However, devices such as your phone and your computer will most likely already support both IPv4 and IPv6 where it is required. Now, let's have a look at MAC addresses. MAC addresses sound like they may refer to some sort of unique Apple address system, but no, it's not, it's actually completely unrelated. A MAC address, otherwise known as a Media Access Control address, is an address associated with network cards, and is made up of 6 pairs of hexadecimal numbers, a hexadecimal number being a number with a base of 16. These appear as alphanumeric numbers as they start with 0 and end with F. This is because we can't use a single digit to represent the number 12. As such, we would use the letter C. Each network card in your device will have its own MAC address. For example, if you have a computer with a Wi-Fi card and an Ethernet port, you will likely have 2 MAC addresses, one for the Ethernet port and one for the Wi-Fi. MAC addresses are assigned to cards at the point of manufacture. So, why do we actually need a MAC address? Well, a MAC address helps your router know you are, well, you. Your MAC address is linked to your private IP address on the network that you're connected to, and helps ensure that when your data is requested from the internet, that when that data is delivered to your router, that it's associated with your device. So when you request to be able to load data from a website, your routing information is actually linked to that request. This allows your home or business router to be able to return the correct data to the correct device on that network, as your router can identify your private local IP address by referencing your device's MAC address. Sometimes we need to ask our customers what the private IP or MAC address is for their device. Some devices, such as phones, may have the MAC address information actually printed on them on a sticker. However, you can easily find this information on a Windows computer by opening a command prompt window. You can do this by opening your start bar and typing in CMD, and then either tapping the enter key or opening the command prompt application on the start bar. Once you've got this open, just type ipconfig followed by the enter key, and you'll be given your IPv4 address and your IPv6 address. To be able to find your MAC address, use the same command, however followed by space/all, and then look for the line that says physical address. This is your MAC address. On Apple computers, you can find all of this exact same information in the terminal. Just go to Applications, Utilities, and then Terminal, and then type in the command ifconfig and then the enter key. However, this is actually much easier to be able to see in the settings. Go to Settings and then Network, and then you can see all of your IP information for each of your connections at a glance. And if you want to be able to find your MAC address, just go to your connection that you want to look up, go to Advanced, and then Hardware to be able to find your MAC address. You can also use free tools such as Advanced IP Scanner to be able to look up all of the devices on your home or business network within a specified range, including their name, IPv4 address, manufacturer if it's available, and also their MAC address. Many businesses may also have other tools available to them, including being able to look this up on their router, firewall, or other services. If you want to be able to find out more about looking up devices on your network, reach out to any of our consultants to be able to find out more. That's about it though for this video. Hopefully you've found this information useful. If you have, please hit the like button and consider sharing this with your friends, family and colleagues. Also subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified about future videos, such as more of our TechBytes videos and our longer TechSplain videos. Until then though, see you soon!